You own an AR-15 pistol with a pistol brace. You bought it legally 3 years ago. It was perfectly legal when you purchased it. But in January 2023, the ATF issued a rule saying that pistol brace makes your gun a short-barreled rifle, and short-barreled rifles require a $200 tax stamp and registration with the ATF. If you didn't register it, you're in possession of an unregistered NFA firearm. That's a federal felony, 10 years in prison. But here's where it gets complicated. In November 2023, a federal court issued an injunction blocking the ATF from enforcing this rule against millions of gun owners. So technically, the rule is paused. But the ATF hasn't given up. They're still treating pistol braces as stocks in certain situations. They're still noting them during inspections, and they're waiting for the courts to give them the green light to enforce again. Welcome to the zombie rule. It's dead, but it's not really dead. And if you own a pistol brace, you're stuck in legal limbo. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed yet? Because what I'm about to reveal affects anyone who owns an AR pistol, AK pistol, or any firearm with a stabilizing brace. And 90% of those owners have no idea the legal status of their guns is in flux right now. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss updates on this case. Because when it gets decided, you need to know immediately. Here's what happened and where we are now. For years, pistol braces were completely legal and widely used. A pistol brace, also called a stabilizing brace, is a device that attaches to the buffer tube of an AR-15 pistol. It was originally designed by a disabled veteran who wanted to shoot an AR pistol one-handed. The brace straps to your forearm, providing stability. This allows someone with limited use of one hand to control the recoil and shoot accurately. The ATF approved these devices. They issued letters saying pistol braces are legal accessories that do not convert a pistol into a rifle or a short-barreled rifle. Gun owners loved them, not just disabled shooters, everyone. Because a pistol brace allows you to stabilize an AR pistol without the legal hassle of registering it as a short-barreled rifle. An AR pistol with a brace is legally a pistol. It doesn't require a tax stamp. You can buy it, take it home same day after a standard background check, and you're good to go. Millions of these were sold. SBA 3, SBA 4, Shockwave Blade, all different brands and models. The market exploded. But then the ATF changed its mind. In January 2023, the ATF finalized a rule called Factoring Criteria for Firearms with Attached Stabilizing Braces, also known as ATF Rule 2021R08F. This rule says that many pistol braces are actually stocks, and if you put a stock on a pistol with a barrel shorter than 16 inches, you've created a short-barreled rifle. SBRs are regulated under the National Firearms Act. You need to register them with the ATF and pay a $200 tax stamp. If you don't, possessing an unregistered SBR is a federal felony. So overnight, the ATF turned millions of law-abiding gun owners into potential felons. The rule gave gun owners a few options. Option 1, register your pistol as an SBR by filing a Form 1 and paying the $200 tax stamp. Option 2, remove the brace and keep the gun as a pistol. Option 3, permanently modify the gun so it's no longer an SBR. Or Option 4, surrender the gun to the ATF. Most people didn't do any of this. They said, we're not registering. We didn't do anything wrong. The ATF is overstepping. And they filed lawsuits. Multiple lawsuits were filed challenging the rule. Gun rights organizations, individual gun owners, and even some states sued the ATF, arguing the rule exceeded the agency's authority and violated the Administrative Procedure Act. And in November 2023, a federal judge in Texas issued a nationwide preliminary injunction in a case called Mock versus Garland. The judge said the ATF's rule likely violates federal law. The court blocked the ATF from enforcing the rule against anyone. That means, as of now, the ATF cannot prosecute people for having pistol braces without registering them. But here's the problem. The injunction doesn't strike down the rule. It just pauses enforcement while the case is being litigated. The rule is still on the books. The ATF still believes pistol braces are stocks, and the case is working its way through the courts. It could take years. In the meantime, gun owners are in limbo. Can you buy a pistol brace? Technically, yes, because the injunction blocks enforcement. But should you? That depends on how risk-averse you are. If the injunction gets lifted or if a higher court reverses it, enforcement could resume immediately. And if you have a brace on your gun when that happens, you could be charged. Let me give you a real-world example of how this plays out. Imagine a guy named Jake. Jake bought an AR-15 pistol with an SBA 3 brace in 2021. Completely legal. He's used it for home defense and range shooting. When the ATF rule came out in 2023, Jake was furious. He didn't register. He didn't remove the brace. He just kept the gun as is. Then the injunction happened. Jake thinks, great, the rule is blocked. I'm safe. But is he? Legally, the injunction protects him from prosecution under the brace rule. But what if Jake gets pulled over for speeding and a cop sees the pistol in his car? The cop might not know about the injunction. The cop might say, "That's an SBR without a tax stamp. You're under arrest." Jake would have to explain the injunction. He'd have to show documentation. He might still get arrested and have to fight it in court. Even if he wins, he's spent thousands on a lawyer and gone through months of stress. Or imagine Jake is at a range. An ATF agent happens to be there doing an inspection of the range's FFL. The agent sees Jake's pistol with a brace. The agent takes note. Even though the rule is enjoined, the agent might open a file on Jake. If the injunction gets lifted, Jake is now on the ATF's radar. That's the risk of the zombie rule. It's not being enforced, but it's not dead either. If you're finding this helpful so far, imagine what you'll learn in my next video where I break down the exact court cases that are deciding the fate of pistol braces and what the next ruling could mean for your guns. Subscribe right now so you don't miss it. Now, let's talk about what the ATF's rule actually says, because the details matter. The ATF created a point system to determine if a brace is actually a stock. They look at factors like the length of pull, the surface area that contacts your shoulder, the weight of the firearm, whether the brace has sling attachment points, and more. If your gun scores too many points, the ATF says it's designed to be fired from the shoulder, which makes it a rifle. And if the barrel is under 16 inches, it's an SBR. The problem is the point system is subjective and complicated. The ATF says they evaluate each firearm on a case-by-case basis, but they haven't published a clear list of which braces are okay and which aren't. So gun owners have no way to know if their specific setup is legal or illegal under the ATF's view. Some braces are clearly fine. Small, minimalist braces with limited surface area probably pass. But popular braces like the SBA3 and SBA4, those are in the gray zone. The ATF hasn't said definitively, and because the rule is enjoined, they can't enforce it anyway. But that doesn't help you plan for the future. Now let's talk about the court cases, because that's what will determine the fate of this rule. The main case is Mock versus Garland, which I mentioned earlier. The plaintiffs argue that the ATF's rule is arbitrary and capricious. They say the ATF approved pistol braces for years, then suddenly changed its mind without a good reason. They also argue the ATF exceeded its statutory authority. Congress defines what a rifle is and what an SBR is. The ATF can't just redefine those terms to include pistols with braces. The government argues that the ATF has the authority to interpret the law and that the rule is a reasonable interpretation of the National Firearms Act. The district court sided with the plaintiffs and issued the injunction. Now the case is on appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We're waiting for a ruling. If the Fifth Circuit upholds the injunction, the rule stays blocked. If the Fifth Circuit reverses the injunction, enforcement can resume. And if the case goes to the Supreme Court, which it probably will, the final word could take years. In the meantime, there are other cases in other circuits. Some judges have ruled for the ATF, others have ruled against. It's a mess. And gun owners are caught in the middle. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. If you own a pistol brace and you're not sure what to do, consult with an attorney who specializes in firearms law. Every situation is different. Don't rely on a YouTube video to make legal decisions. Get professional counsel. Let me walk you through your options as a gun owner right now. Option 1, keep the brace and rely on the injunction. This is what most people are doing. The rule is blocked, so you're technically protected. But if the injunction gets lifted, you could be at risk. This is a gamble on the courts. Option 2, remove the brace and keep the gun as a pistol. Without the brace, it's just an AR pistol. No legal issue. But you lose the stability the brace provided. If you're disabled or if you just like the brace, this is a downgrade. Option 3, register the gun as an SBR. File a Form 1, pay the $200, wait for approval. Once registered, you're fully legal no matter what happens with the rule. But registration means the government knows you own an SBR. And some states don't allow SBRs at all, so this might not even be an option depending on where you live. Option 4, permanently modify the gun. You can pin and weld a muzzle device to extend the barrel to 16 inches. Now it's a rifle, not an SBR. You can keep the brace because it's no longer a short-barreled rifle. But this changes the gun. It's longer, heavier, less compact. Some people don't want that. And option 5, sell the gun or surrender it. If you don't want to deal with the uncertainty, get rid of it. Sell it to someone who's willing to take the risk. Or turn it into the ATF during a buyback if your area has one. But you lose the gun and the money you spent. Those are your options. None of them are great. Now let's talk about what FFLs are doing, because this affects them too. Gun shops can't sell pistol braces with the same confidence they used to. Some shops pulled braces off the shelves entirely. They don't want to be accused of helping customers create illegal SBRs. Other shops still sell them, but with disclaimers. They tell customers, the rule is enjoined right now, but that could change. If you buy this brace, you're assuming the legal risk. And some shops are just confused. They don't know what the law is. The ATF says one thing, the courts say another. so they play it safe and don't sell anything that might be controversial. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the 50,000 gun owners who get these updates first. Click subscribe. Now let's talk about what happens if the injunction gets lifted. If a higher court reverses the injunction, the ATF can start enforcing the rule again. What does that mean? If you have a pistol with a brace and no tax stamp, you're in violation. The ATF could prosecute you. Will they go door to door confiscating pistol braces? Probably not. That's logistically impossible and politically toxic. But they don't need to. They can enforce selectively. If you get pulled over and a cop finds your braced pistol, you could be charged. If you're at a range and an ATF agent sees it, you could be charged. If you post a picture of it online and the ATF sees it, you could become a target. Selective enforcement is how the ATF operates. They can't prosecute everyone, so they prosecute a few people to make examples. And those examples scare everyone else into compliance. Let me give you another scenario. Imagine a woman named Sarah. Sarah owns an AR pistol with an SBA4 brace. She bought it in 2020. When the rule came out, she didn't register. The injunction happened, so she thought she was safe. In 2020, the Fifth Circuit reverses the injunction. The rule is back in effect. Sarah still has the brace on her gun. She doesn't know the injunction was lifted because she doesn't follow gun law news closely. One day, she takes her pistol to a local range. An ATF agent is there doing a compliance check on the range's FFL. The agent sees Sarah's gun. The agent asks if it's registered. Sarah says, "Registered for what?" "It's a pistol." The agent says, "With that brace, it's an SBR. Do you have a tax stamp?" Sarah says, "No, I didn't think I needed one. The rule was blocked." The agent says, "Not anymore. The injunction was lifted. You're in possession of an unregistered SBR. Sarah is arrested. She's charged with a federal felony. She hires a lawyer. She spends $20,000 defending herself. Even if the charges get dropped eventually, her life is turned upside down. That's the risk of the zombie rule. Now, let's talk about the policy behind this rule, because it is important to understand why the ATF did this. The ATF says pistol braces are being misused. They say people are buying AR pistols with braces and using them as short-barreled rifles without going through the NFA process. The braces allow you to shoulder the gun, just like a rifle. So in the ATF's view, these are rifles, not pistols. And if they're rifles with barrels under 16 inches, they're SBRs that should be registered. The gun rights community says this is nonsense. A pistol brace is designed for disabled shooters. Yes, you can shoulder it, but you can shoulder a lot of things. That doesn't make them stocks. The ATF approved these devices for years. Gun owners relied on those approvals. Now the ATF is changing the rules retroactively and turning millions of people into criminals. That's not fair, it's not legal, and it's not constitutional. Both sides have valid points. But the real issue is that the ATF is regulating through enforcement rather than clear rules. They issue vague guidance, then prosecute people who get it wrong. That's not how the law should work. Now let's talk about the history of pistol braces, because it matters. The first pistol brace was invented by a disabled veteran named Alex Bosco in 2012. He wanted to shoot an AR pistol but couldn't control the recoil one-handed because of an injury. So he designed a brace that strapped to his forearm and stabilized the gun. He submitted it to the ATF for review. The ATF said it's legal. It's not a stock because it's designed to be used as a brace, not shouldered. Bosco started selling the braces through his company, SB Tactical. They became wildly popular. Other companies started making their own versions. The market exploded. By 2020, there were millions of pistol braces in circulation. But then the ATF started getting pressure from gun control advocates. They said pistol braces are a loophole. People are using them to circumvent the NFA. The ATF needed to crack down. So in 2020, the ATF issued guidance saying they were going to reevaluate pistol braces. Gun owners panicked. There was a huge run on braces. People bought them by the millions, worried they'd be banned. Then, in 2021, the ATF proposed the rule. And in 2023, the rule was finalized. And here we are. Now, let's talk about what the future holds. The mock case is being appealed. We're waiting for the Fifth Circuit to rule. If they uphold the injunction, the rule stays blocked. But the ATF will probably appeal to the Supreme Court. If the Fifth Circuit reverses the injunction, the rule goes back into effect. And gun owners have to decide whether to comply or risk prosecution. If the case goes to the Supreme Court, the court will decide whether the ATF's rule is valid. That could take until 2027 or 2028. In the meantime, gun owners are stuck. Do you keep the brace and hope the courts side with you? Do you remove it to be safe? Do you register to comply? There's no good answer. This information could literally determine whether you're committing a federal felony right now without knowing it. Subscribe so you get the update the moment the Fifth Circuit rules on Mock versus Garland. Hit that subscribe button. Look, I spend hours every week following these court cases, reading ATF guidance. and tracking enforcement actions so you know what's happening with your guns. The least you can do is subscribe to make sure you never miss an update that could save you from federal charges. Subscribe right now. And if you found this helpful, share it with every AR pistol owner you know, because most of them have no idea the legal status of their guns is up in the air. Remember, this is educational information based on ATF Rule 2021R08F and current court cases. It is not legal advice. Always consult with an attorney for your specific situation. Stay safe out there. Know your rights. And watch this case closely, because when the courts rule, the landscape for pistol braces could change overnight.